Welcome to Midnight Menu Plus One. I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margot Moss. Midnight Menu Plus One is a food lifestyle show on the podcast network, it's neworleans.com. Brought to us tonight by Petite Pet Care. While you're at work or on vacation or at the Mardi Gras parades, you don't have to board your pet. He can stay in the comfort of his own home. For loving care when you're not there, Petite Pet Care. Find them at petitepetcare.com.
Well, each week on Midnight Menu Plus One, Margaret and I get to invite a member of New Orleans restaurant and food community to join us for lively conversation. We invite them to bring along their own guest, the Plus One. We never know who the Plus One's going to be. Sometimes it's a friend, a neighbor, family member, fellow restaurant colleague. Very excited tonight about our special guest, and we're at the tap room. NOLA's Brewing Tap Room is NOLA Brewing's on-site watering hole located in the Irish Channel. The tap room serves NOLA's regular lineup of craft beers as well as 8 or more specialty brews that you can't get anywhere else, only here. Open weekdays from 2 to 11 p.m. and weekends from 11 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. Well, tonight our special guest is going to be here in just a moment, Emery Van Hook Sonnier. I'm very excited about that. Can't wait to talk to her and also her mystery guest. But before we do that, Margot, let me share with you just one restaurant experience. And that was Revista. That place is an extraordinary to me bakery. We've had Lisa on our show before and Chris, great people. Always have a great experience there. I go there sometimes to write and get coffee or whatever. But I had a real funky one this week because Nixon and Elvis. You know this movie that's being filmed? There's like 5 movies being filmed in New Orleans as usual at once, and like 3 of them are in Uptown right now with all our roads closed and Mardi Gras coming, right? Well, they closed off Magazine today for a long time. It was crazy what's left of it. So anyway, I'm in there, and what happened is there's all this commotion going on down by Hay Cafe and by Miss May's about a block down. And so I go there, and they're stopping. I see that the aides there are stopping everybody from actually even walking on the sidewalk because they're filming in front of Casamento's. They made Casamento's into a hair salon or something, I think. Anyway, so I'm walking along, and they let me right through. I don't know.
They
if it was
thought you were in the Elvis movie.
That's what I think it is. I think it was like I looked like an extra. I guess I'm like cartoonish enough that like they thought I was an extra. So in this period piece, I walked right in, and I kept walking, and I literally stopped myself about 6 inches from getting right into the scene while they were filming of a bunch of Black Panthers in front of Casamento's. I don't know what that was all about. But they're all wearing like black, the signature look from the 60s, And anyway, so I go back to Revista after that. They start waving their arms at me spastically, and I didn't interrupt. But then I go back, and then all the cast people kept coming and going through Revista the whole time. So anyway, that was my interesting little experience. And the food was great, but it was more like the atmosphere too. It was ridiculous. It was yeah. All right, anything for you? Anything special? Anything noteworthy?
I don't know if I told you I went to Hillel's Kitchen.
Again? Yeah, we love that place.
Yeah, and enjoyed it greatly.
Cool.
So
was that like the Shabbat thing again, or like?
No, just a regular meal.
Yeah, okay.
People
Cool.
can go in any time for lunch. And,
nice, yeah.
So
one of our favorites.
Matzo ball soup or something like that.
Oh yeah, we had the chef, and we had Rabbi Yonah on here not too long ago. Well, anyway, let's not delay any further. I'm dying to talk to my pal Emery Sonnier. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, from America's greatest farmers market, and right.
We do our
it's
best.
Made some lists.
It has. We've been gotten a couple good shout outs from national media.
Yeah, every once in a while I'll be going through my news feed on Yahoo, and I'll be like, 10 best farmers markets in America. I'll go, I wonder if Emery's in there, and I'll click on it.
Well, Emery, what do you do with the farmers market? What is Ray talking about?
Sure. So I work for a nonprofit Market Umbrella, and we're the folks who locally operate the Crescent City Farmers Market. So we have 4 locations. We're Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays in different New Orleans neighborhoods with about 75 or so vendors between the seasonal ones who come in with certain crops, citrus, strawberries, and then the ones who are with us year round. So we run the farmers markets. We go out looking for farmers and recruit them and bring them into the market. And then a lot of what we do is raising awareness about local farmers, local farm products, healthy living, healthy eating, with a lot of community programming.
Wonderful.
We'll talk a lot more about that later.
And how did you get into doing that?
Ooh, I grew up here in New Orleans, born and raised, and my mother is Sicilian. So I grew up in the kitchen with my mom, with my grandmother, with all the women in our family cooking, and just was always really drawn to food and how much can be learned and taught through food, whether that was learning to read cookbooks and learning math skills through recipes and breaking them down and going grocery shopping with my mom and coming home and making something. So it was always, I grew up cooking and eating here, which a lot of New Orleanians do. So after that, after undergrad, I was a literature major and came back home to New Orleans and worked with Dickie Brennan at his restaurant group. Worked with him. We opened a couple of restaurants, the group did, and we did a cookbook and all sorts of fun things.
You're like head of marketing, weren't you?
I was, yeah. I was co-director of marketing there. So I learned a lot there. Then moved away to New York. I wanted to get some New York work experience, and also went to school up there. So I did my master's in food studies and food systems at NYU. So that it's a lot more popular now. When I was in the program, I think there were only about 2 in the country, but essentially it uses food as a lens to study various aspects of culture and society, whether that's environmental issues, gender issues, labor issues. Food is this wonderful least common denominator. Everybody can talk about food. Everybody eats. So it's a great connector. And that ultimately led me back home to the work I do now, which really uses food as a way to bring community together. Urban and rural, so farmers and city folks, people from different walks of life, different neighborhoods, different income brackets. Again, everybody eats. So it's something that we can really come together around. And in New Orleans, it's just the perfect place to do this.
So did you were you intentionally wanting to be back in New Orleans, or just the opportunity opened up? You were looking for something in your field here, and it opened up and you came, huh?
I was, yeah. My last day of work at Dickie Brennan and Company was the Friday before Hurricane Katrina. I had given my notice and been accepted at the program at NYU, and knew I had signed a lease up in New York and knew I was headed that way, but just not that way. So we evacuated to Houston, where my sister was, and then I moved up directly from being evacuated there and started my program. So I loved New York. I loved my neighborhood and my job and my friends up there, but it was because of Katrina and everything going on here, there was a real sense of urgency to come home and be a part of life here again in New Orleans and post-Katrina life here. So had it not been for the storm, I think I love this town, but I think I might have stayed away for just a little bit longer. But there was a real sense of urgency to come home. So this is home.
Did a lot of your family come back after? Okay.
All of them.
All of them.
And they all say they will never leave again, or at least my parents. They say they will never evacuate again. They will never leave here. And my husband too. I think he's from Southwest Louisiana, but I think it'd be harder to drag him out of this city than me even. So it's.
Now, did you know him at the time?
I did. Yeah, we'd been friends. So. And then moved away, and then we got together when I moved back after Katrina. So, and we're here for good.
Okay.
I got to perform their wedding.
Yeah, Ray married us.
Well, you're blushing, but that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing.
That's a tan from parading. That's what that is.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your husband. Maybe a little off the subject, but that's
brand new
part
job for him, right?
Pardon me?
Brand new job for him.
Yes, he does. He has a brand new job. He hasn't started yet. He'll start at the end of the month. Okay. He's going over to the New Orleans Convention Visitors Bureau to be their Vice President of Communications and Public Relations. So
wonderful.
And I say kid because he is truly one at heart, but just loves this city and all of its funk and soul. And I think he's just I'm obviously biased, but just think he's just a wonderful person to be a mouthpiece for this city and all the wonderful attributes that it has, and for showing the world the best of the city. So
now, what do you actually do with the farmers market? I mean, when I go there, I used to have my staff meetings there, as you remember, for a couple of years, because I just love to be around the atmosphere of the place. Such a great place, and food's always great. So every Tuesday we were there with the staff. But I see you doing everything there. I see you setting up tables. I see you lecturing school kids as they come through and telling them about farming and so forth. I see you interacting with all the vendors. What else do you do? I mean, what are you supposed to be doing there?
Sure. No, I got it.
You supposed to be doing all that?
Yeah, we're a very small staff. We're a small team.
Right.
Our nonprofit, we run lean. And so we all do a little bit of everything. So at the markets itself, it's certainly there's the farmer aspect of it. So checking in with them, learning about their businesses. The culinary landscape here is constantly evolving. So seeing what they're having great success with, what their challenges are, whether they're trying new crops, finding out some information that maybe we can share with chefs, or in our education work with school children, what's coming up next, how the weather's impacting their crops, all sorts of things like that. And then on the shopper aspect of it is too, it's even those little insider tips on, what's just come in season, what's maybe a really good buy right now because it's peak season, ideas on how to cook things, those sorts of things. So just kind of just being a presence there. So I think that farmers markets are those things that when run well, there's so much more that's going on behind the scenes than people realize, and that's the way that it should be. You should be able to come in and have it be this fun experience. It shouldn't be heavy. It shouldn't be preachy. But there are hopefully there's a lot going on. Bringing new people to the market. If it's school groups, if it's groups of seniors, all that takes a lot of facilitation and a lot of kind of behind the scenes work. So to make it seem, we want it to feel natural. So.
I'll tell you one of the things I like best about the farmers market. I love the pricing is so affordable. Sometimes better than the grocery stores. I like how fresh it is.
I like to hear that.
I like. Oh yeah, that's a myth that like farmers markets have to be more expensive. Like I get my broccoli, my cauliflower there every time. It's cheaper than the other grocery stores that I love, and it's fresher. And it's like a whole different vegetable sometimes too. And you get it right off the. I mean, it's unbelievable. But anyway, all those things I love, and I love seeing you and the personalities there. But also, I'm kind of like you probably know this. I'm kind of like a restaurant groupie, like chef groupie, and like the way that people talk about celebrity sightings in New Orleans and movie stars that they always see at Whole Foods or on Magazine Street. If you want to see like chefs, there's no better place in the whole city than the farmers market to run into like. Oh, there's Tori McPhail, and look, oh wow, there's Adam Biederman coming around the corner, and there's there's Frank Brightson, and I mean. There'll be at a given moment there'll be like 4 or 5 like of the best chefs in the world all hanging out getting their groceries at the little farmers market and up the one I go to the Uptown one on Tuesdays, but I'm sure the other sites are like that too.
The Tuesday one is a real meeting spot, and I think so. Chefs spend so much time in their kitchens. The farmers market is a place where they actually get to see their friends and their coworkers or their colleagues rather, and spend some time and swap ideas on things and kind of just. Tell some more stories about what's if it was a really busy Saturday night or weekend or something like that, and we're blessed to be so have such incredible support from the New Orleans culinary, and it's just on any given Tuesday, Saturday, a lot of them. That's one of the most rewarding things is looking at the farmers and see their businesses growing through the relationships that they've cultivated at the farmers market. And sometimes that's business relationships with chefs, and a lot of times it's personal relationships with shoppers. We have some vendors who now have been selling to, they're selling to their 3rd generation of New Orleanians, which I think is just really cool. This will be the 20th year of the Crescent City Farmers Market downtown. So. Wow,
20th year.
20, yep.
And how long have you been with it?
In various capacities. I started volunteering with them probably in like 99 or 2000.
Oh, wow. So almost from the beginning.
No, yeah, just about. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many locations was it then?
Back then, we had, I think we maybe like 3 to 4. There are a couple ones that we've tried different locations, but before Katrina, we had 4 locations, and we're back up to that now. So.
Okay. Huh. Well, why don't you, your plus one is here. Why don't you introduce her and tell us why you selected her of all the people in this interesting city and all the fascinating people that you surround yourself with. This is the person that you wanted to have with you. So she's got to be special. Tell us why.
Absolutely.
And who she is.
This was a very easy decision. I want to introduce my coworker and my friend, Kimisha Sawyers. You want Kimisha or Kim? You want to go by either way? Okay. I'll start professionally. But Kim and I worked together, and she came on board with us this past year, and she works on one of our programs. It's our farmers market prescription program. And for that, and I'll let you tell Kim more about. Kim will tell you more about it. But for one thing, she's amazing at the job that she does. She just does really, really fantastic work. And also on a personal level, I think is just so truly inspiring in the way she lives her life and raises her son, and just has so much wisdom to impart. She's young, but she has lots of wisdom to impart on all of us. So it's just any opportunity that I get, to share, to chat a little bit with Kimisha, I love to. So.
All right, that's a lot to live up to.
It is.
You better you better perform.
I hope so.
No.
She's fantastic.
That sounds awesome. Well, impart some wisdom on us. What can you tell us?
Well, hello. With the Crescent City Market, I do the fruit and vegetable prescription program where we are in 2 different clinics, the Daughters of Charity Clinic and the Roots for Tel Tulane Clinic. And we do fruit and vegetable prescriptions for all of their patients where they're seeing a provider and they get a fruit and vegetable prescription to visit the farmer's market and get free fruits and vegetables for them and their family members for free every month. So,
wow, that is a really interesting program.
Absolutely.
Is this common?
There's definitely others across the country. I've done some background research. There's a few in D.C. There's a few in New York.
But this is pretty new, I bet.
But definitely here.
Yeah, I don't know of any down south.
There's none down south. So being here and being able to put this prescription into the community where people who've never been to farmers markets before have the opportunity now to visit and see a whole new shopping experience has definitely been a great opportunity.
And the program is brand new, and so it's, we're learning as we go, and Kim has been instrumental in this success. So,
yeah, just today, about an hour ago, I was looking at my news feed in Facebook, and it had a Food Incorporated, I subscribe to, and it had a picture of a glass full of vegetables and fruit kind of bursting out of it, and then the next to it was like a pill, and it said like the farm company's medicine, and then under the one it said nature's medicine.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
And
yeah.
I live by that every single day. Like Emery said, this is my job, but this is my personal life as well. In the last year and probably about 4 months now, I've lost about 85 to 90 pounds. And
Wait, in the last 4 months?
In the last year and a half.
Last year and a
Not
half.
4 months. Please don't
Loud
lose
here.
85 pounds
Sorry,
in
I
4
can't hear
months.
you yelling behind me.
No,
Okay.
about a year and a half. And it's been about 85. I'm at 85 now, and that's from all pure, good old fashioned diet and exercise. Just
Nice.
eating really good. Before I started working at the market, I had never shopped at a market before. I had never been to a farmer's market. And now I have my friends, my family members, everyone coming to the market every Saturday and getting a whole new shopping experience that they never had before. So it's been a great opportunity to just expose the communities that had never seen anything like this before, and just to a whole new world. So.
Yeah, we've addicted the country to just salt and sugar and various forms
Absolutely.
of processed corn.
Absolutely.
Put in different shapes and sizes.
Absolutely.
And it takes it takes sort of an effort to eat better. But when you do, you realize how much more rewarding it is, and how much better you feel, and how much better it tastes.
Being from the city where it's the culture here. This is how you grew up. This is how your mother cooked. This is how your grandmother cooked, and you don't know that it's something wrong or it's something that it can be done better, and you grow up this way. But trying to learn this at a later age is much harder than developing at a very young age. So it's been definitely a struggle of mine to learn how to. This is something completely learned from myself. This is not how I grew up. I didn't grow up eating carrots at night. That was not. That wasn't what we were taught. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Oh no, I just want to ask you. Maybe I didn't hear because it's a little loud in here. But so, how did you come to that position a year and a half ago at the farmers market? What were you doing before, and what motivated you to?
I started at Tulane getting my master's in public health 2.5 years ago.
The oldest public health program in America.
Yes, the best one.
Yeah.
So I just
the oldest and best. Yeah.
I got my MPH last May, and so in the process of that and working on I went to Taiwan last May 2013, and that trip was my first time out of the country, and it was my first time really realizing that I can do whatever I put my mind to. And so when I stepped foot in Tokyo, and that was the first time something like that had ever happened for me, it was just, I can do what I want to now. And so that motivated me, and that pushed me that I can really make things happen the way that I wanted to. So.
And how long after you came back from that did you get the job at the farmers market?
That had been quite a year. So the farmer's market came after probably about 60 pounds into my weight loss. So this was me already working, and then the farmer's market was just something completely new.
So that you already lost 60 pounds.
I had.
And then you get an opportunity to work at this farmer's market.
Where I have fresh fruits and vegetables at my disposal now. I became a vegetarian. That changed my life because it's at my exposure, and I can now teach my friends and family how you can eat these things and cook these things, and being with the clients at the clinics and the patients there, that you can now have all these fresh fruits and vegetables at your exposure for free. So it totally eliminates that barrier.
So can you expand a little bit more on how people can get the prescription and learn more about that program?
So there's two ways. We are at the Daughters of Charity Diabetes Institute, where diabetic patients that's enrolled into that institute.
Is that the one on Carrollton?
There's one on
Mid-City?
Carrollton,
Okay,
and there's one on right off of St. Claude on the St. Cecilia Clinic.
Okay.
And so we're at those two clinics, and those are for all diabetic patients and prenatal patients. And so in those groups, they can enroll and get their fruits and vegetables, or we're at the Tulane Ruth Fertel Clinic. That clinic is an open enrollment clinic, so any patient at that clinic is able to have be able to see a provider and then get a prescription. And once they get that prescription, they're constantly coming back every month for a refill. And so basically you're getting that ongoing education, you're getting that ongoing counseling from the doctors, from your food educators, and just how to do this, because it's something completely new that they've never done before. So.
Wow.
That's really amazing.
That is really interesting. I wonder if the insurance companies have some resistance to that, and, I don't know. How does that work?
I think it's good because, they see it as food as preventative medicine.
Right, right.
It's something where, and Kim and I did a panel discussion a while back on food as medicine, and really I think people are starting to realize just how much of a role diet can play in it. So insurance like it because it's keeping their costs down. So
the providers like it because it's keeping their patients and it's getting them in better health. I have so many patients that say that they've lowered their A1C levels tremendously from 14s to 6s and 5s. There's people who've lost weight throughout the program within the last 4 months. And so it's watching these people really, really put forth the effort. They're in the farmers markets. They're loving the markets. They've never been to the markets, but now they're bringing their children. They're bringing their neighbors. And it's really, really becoming that community engagement. It's bringing everyone together, and that's what I really love to see.
And that's what we want to see at the market. Is we want the Crescent City Farmers Market to be as representative of the greater New Orleans community as possible. So
Absolutely.
we want people from different neighborhoods. We want people from different income brackets. We want people who may not have otherwise met. So coming together again around food and swapping recipes and tales and those sorts of things. So and that's, I think, the real sense of community that people are hoping to find at markets. So, and the work that Kim is doing through the Farmers Market Prescription Program is a huge part of it in activating the space and making it a real community gathering space.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's all right.
No. Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we had a guest on the show not long ago who's a med school professor who writes a lot of books on public health, and it was fascinating. I was absolutely amazed that when he talked about studies they've done where they've actually had famous restaurants in New Orleans cook their signature dishes that they're famous for, and then they make reduced salt versions of it.
Yep.
And then they do some amped up ones with extra salt.
Okay.
And then they have blind taste tests.
Oh,
and what they
wow.
found is, in most cases, the folks, when you reduce the salt, people prefer the taste of it to the way it's normally served, and they charge a lot for it. So it's not just healthier; it's actually tastier too.
Absolutely.
And it's just it's interesting, just perception and the way, and just sort of changing people's perception and stuff like that. And you go to a place at the farmers market, it's like the food is so good, it's so good, so it can be healthy and good, and you don't have to give up one for the other necessarily. If you do it wisely, and I just think that's really neat. What you're pioneering.
And that's what I
that.
try to teach. Like I said, my friends, my family, the patients at the clinics, just learning healthier ways to cook the dishes that they love. Because this is New Orleans, and we're food driven.
Right.
We're surrounded by food, and we like to eat. So, but learning healthier options and not to put so much fat into your red beans, or not to sneak in some squash or zucchini into your spaghettis or whatever the case may be. To learn how to cook the things that you love just in a healthier way. And that's what I really, really work on with a lot of my patients and clients.
And Kim is a precious, precious little boy, and I love hearing her tips on how she sneaks those vegetables into his tent.
It has been a struggle. He is 4 now. He'll be 5 this May. And I gained majority of my weight during my pregnancy with him. I didn't have a very healthy pregnancy eating-wise because I just wasn't there in my life yet. And I gained a good portion of my weight with him. And then once I had him, I didn't lose the weight because I had all the habits that came along with it. And so I realized he was about 3 and he was eating just as bad as I was eating. We would pass a store and he's like, I want chicken and I want fries. And I had to make a change for myself because I knew that it would affect him in the end. And so it started slow and it's still a struggle every day, but we're trying all new vegetables now. He loves magic beans, which are black beans. That's his
Call
favorite.
him whatever you need to
Call him whatever you need to. His favorite is collard greens from the market. He's
that's great.
To get beet lemonade from the market. And
beet lemonade is awesome.
Beet lemonade is his absolute favorite.
That's like a superfood too, yeah.
To eat I had to trick him to go back for. He thought he left his cookie at the. He thinks the market is only cookies and beet lemonade. And so he thought he left his cookie. So I told him, if you tried the beet lemonade, I would go back for it. But I had the cookie in my bag the whole time. And he tried it, and he absolutely fell in love with it. But now, everywhere he goes, and he's only 4, he's telling my mom, you have to try that. He's telling his grandma, you have to try that. My mom says you have to try it, just like I tried the beet lemonade.
Nice.
And so me teaching him is just showing how they're sponges, and our children are our sponges, our friends are our sponges, and they basically feed off of what we provide for them. And I really just want him to know where food comes from and how food grows and how it's not just in the grocery store. It's a whole process before it even makes it to the grocery store. And so I really, really enjoy teaching him these things because, like I said, I wasn't taught these things, but now I'm teaching my mom these things. I'm teaching my dad these things. They're both calling me saying, I went for a walk this morning, or I'm trying the kale. And that's in all honesty, they both called me today and told me they went for their morning walk, which was great. So it's been good, really, really having that positive effect all around me. So it's been a great feeling. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, on the walking, I'm a fanatic about this. You know, to me, I feel like it's just like the eating. It's like it's so much better to walk in New Orleans if you can. It's one of the great walking cities in the world. Mm-hmm. And then driving, it's one of the worst driving cities in the world.
Gosh, the traffic
it's terrible.
here
Why
was
people
horrible.
spend extra money and to jam themselves into a car and take themselves out of this wonderful city and put themselves in this pod and drive. I mean, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's just, I mean, but you just get in that mentality, you get used to that. If you can just get rid of the car, stop using it, and just get out there and walk, you're so much better off anyway.
Breaking habits all
Yeah,
around.
it's just breaking habits. But you notice all the architectural details, and you run into your friends, and you have conversations, and you do all these things that you just can't do in the car. And it's to me, it's on the same. Don't you think it's on the same sort of page as the playbook that you're using for the food stuff?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. Well, tell us about the farmers at the that you deal with. I mean, there's a lot of characters there. You can tell by looking at them.
Cast of characters.
Yes.
For sure.
I mean, New Orleans is full of characters. We have urban characters. The farmers that come in are rural characters that you have there too. You have some real crazy people. So
we've got some characters, but they are some of the hardest working people you will ever meet. And it's, you better think twice before you complain at a farmer's market about anything because, as early as you got up, the farmers got up 3 hours, 4 hours before you and drove in, and, they do really hard physical work, and I think there's a lot of dignity in that, and a lot of things that a lot of folks take for granted. So it's just, again, really hardworking people.
what's sort of like the biggest farm represented of any of your vendors there? I mean, they're all pretty small farmers, right?
They
what's
are.
the biggest, what would be sort of like the largest
Oh, you
example?
might have someone who, has 25 acres of something,
Right.
or maybe a little bit north of that, 30 acres, 50 acres or something. But
What's
a lot
like
of
the
them
smallest?
But you can do something you can do great production on an acre, on half an acre. So it just kind of depends on what you want to do. And so we have a lot of produce farmers. We also have seafood vendors at the market. So some people bringing in fresh, locally caught shrimp and fish and crabs when in season, and some really beautiful things. And then we have a lot of, our industry term is value added, but all of those delicious breads. Revista is a vendor at the market.
Yeah.
Revista actually got its start at the Crescent City Farmers Market.
Right.
So,
She was a famous baker there, right?
who you were talking about earlier. earlier, and that's another thing about the market is that it incubates food businesses, and that's something that's a real buzz term now, and people are looking at, startups. There's lots of talk about that, and farmers markets, I think, are one of the really early pioneers in startup businesses or pop-up businesses. It's all these terms that we hear so much of now in trendy food talk, but farmers markets have been doing that for a good long while.
How many, what percentage of your farmers are family farms, like
All of
generational? All of them?
For family farms?
For farm,
generational?
Or just, do you see a movement towards young people getting into that?
We're starting to see that. I think you see it more in other parts of the country, but I'm really encouraged by the growth that we're seeing, younger people getting into agriculture, and that's another thing that we do a lot of, is trying to break down some of those barriers and a lot of matchmaking. And if there are people who are interested in agriculture and getting into production, we want to do everything that we can to help match them up with resources that will make that easier. It'll never be easy. It's hard work. Restaurants, it's hard work, hard to turn a profit, hard, demanding work around the clock. Farming is the same way, if not more so. But there's some people on the North Shore doing great work. I love seeing people in their 20s getting into farming, expressing interest, and that could start from backyard gardening or having a full-blown production farm on a larger scale, or larger at if it's an acre, a couple acres or so, and raising chickens. And there's so much interest in that now. In New Orleans, it's you can go quickly from urban to rural, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take much time at all to get into the quote country. So
what's the longest commute any of your farmers take to come to the market?
We have one family that brings in peaches from Alabama. And that's about the farthest, but it's equidistant from there into some of our North Louisiana, more, if people think about Ruston peaches, about the same distance as it would be coming in from Alabama. But beyond that, they're kind of the outlier. A lot of the farmers come from the river parishes, from the North Shore, so maybe a 45-minute drive, and maybe a 2-hour drive up to Washington Parish or just across the Mississippi border. Bill Rouse comes in from Terrytown. Those sorts of things. So it's a couple hours drive. It has to make sense for them personally and professionally to come in, if it's 1 time a week, 2, 3, 4 times a week. To sell, but at the market, it's every dollar of just about every dollar of what they're making at the market is going in their pocket rather than to a middleman or several middlemen before it gets to them. So they do get a premium price for premium products, which hopefully makes it worth their while. And then, of course, the direct connection and being there personally to talk to people who really appreciate the food and the work that they do. So I think that's hopefully that's our that's our cheerleading that goes along with it. So and our thanks and praise for the work that they do.
Now, what's the quality control standards? Like, for example, do you have any farmers that are do you not work with vendors who use certain kinds of fertilizer or so forth? Can you talk about some of those things?
Sure. A lot of most of the farmers who we work with, they're so small that there's not a need for all of the goopy things that all the things that conventional large-scale industrial agriculture necessitates because of monocropping, because of the scale that they're doing at. So these smaller folks, there's not a need for it. But there are farmers who are certified organic that practice or have organic practices, and then also are straight up conventional. But that's one thing about the farmers market, is that you're in a position to ask those questions. So if there is a particular, you can ask them if they're using, what kind of chemicals they're using. It may just be a chemical fertilizer or something that's, or it may be nothing at all. But it empowers people to make those decisions on their own and to have that discussion and learn about it. I think a lot of people, industrial agriculture and the industrial food grid is it's full of mixed messages. So the farmers market is a place where you can break through all of that and look your farmer in the eye and ask them how it is that they're growing, and if there's just tremendous education that goes along with
so you can actually help the farmers sometimes too, to get away from bills of goods that they were sold maybe, or their parents were 20 years ago that everybody was doing, that probably was a departure from the way they used to do it, and the way they used to do it was probably better. And you can help or find an alternative that's not as harmful. That would be
exactly. If there are people that there's so many people asking questions about sustainable ag, and so it's I think that is additional incentive for people to adopt sustainable practices, and then they see the value in it and what it means to people. So
And I know y'all keep touching on this, but it's just such an amazing experience to be able to go and meet the people who grow the food and you know, get the milk, and it's inspiring, and the things that you don't think about, like when you go into the grocery, or it's very inspiring, and some of the things you waste time thinking about, they just don't seem so important, and it's an amazing experience. I'm so grateful that y'all do what you do. And
to me, it's sort of like what you're saying, Margot. To me, it's sort of like you buy a record of a band you like, and you listen to the record, or you go see them, and during a break you get to chit-chat with them or whatever. It's a totally, it just changes the whole way you perceive the music. And it's the same thing with food. Like, be able to look the farmer in the eye and see the guy who did that or the woman who did that or whatever. It just enriches the whole experience. It makes that apple taste different. It makes that satsuma taste different to you, and just makes it more personal. And I think it's just more humanizing. Yeah. You know, it's not a commodity now; it's a relationship too, right?
I mean, farmers are rock stars. I think it's so. Yeah. I mean, so you have this rise of celebrity chefs, and I think you're starting to see this rise of celebrity farmers, where their names are on menus, and and chefs, really well-known chefs, plan menus around their crops and call them out by name. So I love seeing that.
Now, how do you guys make money, the farmers market? I mean, you have foundation grants, but you charge the vendors something to be there.
It's a little bit. They charge, we charge very little, so there is a little bit from that, but a lot of it is private support, whether that's from private philanthropy or individual donors. So both for the operations of the market, but also the programming, like what Kim was talking about earlier, the farmers market prescription program. We have a market match program. So at all of our markets, we accept SNAP, food stamps, as they're formerly known, benefits at all of our farmers markets. A lot of people don't know about that. So there's a tremendous amount of community outreach that needs to be done in order to get the word out about that, and then the operations of it too. So during certain times of the year, we match SNAP purchases up to a certain dollar amount. So right now we're matching SNAP purchases up to $20. So you swipe your card and for up to $20, and we'll match up to $20 as a way to help people with limited food budgets stretch those dollars.
So they're already on public assistance, and they're receiving these funds, and now you're doubling them essentially.
Correct.
By.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Correct, to help them stretch that, and then also, that also those dollars that are going directly into farmers' pockets, which helps them to increase their capacity, and those are dollars that they might not have been, or they wouldn't be able to access if they were selling, through different channels. So.
Now, Kim, have you had anybody come back and enjoy the process so much that they want to learn how to do some urban gardening themselves, like grow tomatoes or anything, or is it still?
I haven't had someone to do that specifically. Like, I'm just ready to start growing. People are really excited to just start eating fresher and to start being exposed to those fresh tomatoes and that fresh broccoli. Like you said, it doesn't even taste the same.
And it's like a different vegetable.
It's a whole different vegetable, and you start to see food differently. And that's what I think has been the most exciting thing, that people are starting to build healthier relationships with food. And that's really, you don't see that in New Orleans with our culture. You don't have those very, very healthy relationships. And now I'm starting to see it more and more, because if someone says, I'm trying to lose weight, so I'm not eating at all, or whatever the case may be, and that's not the way to do it. You need to eat as much as you can, but to eat the right things, and learning how to do that. And so I think that has been the biggest achievement, is to really, really see how happy people are at the market. Going to one of the most popular markets for the prescription is our Thursday market. And so being at Thursday market and seeing those patients, and just being in the market and shopping in a whole new light, and being able to have those conversations with the farmers, and being able, well, how did you grow this, and how do I cook this, and that they're having that dialogue that they don't get anywhere else. That has been, I think, the most rewarding part of it all.
And I'm gonna brag on Kim a little bit. She does an incredible job meal planning for the week, which is beautiful. You hear people talking about on the Today Show and in mainstream media, and you should do this, and we all know we should, but Kim actually does it, and it is beautiful. It's a lot of work, but
it's a lot of work. So I meal prep. I plan 3 meals a day for 5 days for my entire family, and I do it all on a Sunday. And so everybody's has portioned out meals for the entire week. And so on days like tonight, where I have no time to go home and think about anything healthy, or my other option is fast food, I already have something that I can go pull out so everyone can eat. And so
What's for tonight? What's for dinner tonight?
I have salmon and asparagus tonight.
Okay,
and
nice.
Kyron has magic beans, of course. I have a pot of magic beans cooked every single week. That goes into every meal prep. He loves beans. And like I said, I don't eat meat, but my boyfriend does, so I have chicken for him and some vegetable. Whatever. My favorite farmer at the market is Timmy, so whatever Timmy grows, that's probably our vegetables for the week.
Tell us more about Timmy.
Timmy's is awesome. He has the most beautiful vegetables. He has the most bright and inspiring personality, and he just draws you in. First of all, his truck draws you in because everything is bright and beautiful and always something different. I try.
Where does he farm?
He's in Mons, Louisiana, so it's in the river parishes.
Okay.
But he always has something new to try, the purple cauliflower
or that's my favorite.
The Romanesco, which was my favorite.
Yes.
Something
Oh,
that
my
looks
second favorite.
Yeah, it looks like an alien cauliflower.
The little alien creature. When I
Yes.
first saw it, I was so intrigued by it, and I absolutely love it.
It's so beautiful
It
and
is.
it's so tender
And my
and,
son, it's actually his favorite now because we chopped it all up and he called it the different color soup. And so we had the green Romanesco and the purple cauliflower and some carrots, and it was just all bright colors. So he calls it the different colors vegetable soup, which is great. And it's really, really, like I said, it's from farm to table, literally. But with the meal prepping, so I do this for myself, but I also do it for, right now I have about 5 or 6 clients. So I'm meal prepping all weekend. And I'm delivering to their houses, and I do like Emery said. They have the choice of 2 to 3 meals a day for 5 days, and it basically eliminates the problem of what am I going to eat and how am I going to stay healthy. I'm doing all the cooking for you. All you have to do is go. That's fast food to me. That's how you really, really reach your goals. It's not working out. It's not in a gym. It's what you put on your plate the 75 hours that you're not working out during the week.
Yes.
That's what I did.
How is that? I'm sorry. Is that through the prescription program,
No,
or is this a private thing?
Yes, the meal prepping is totally personal for myself.
Okay.
But with the market, I'm teaching other people how to do this. My goal with meal prepping for everyone is not to do it for your entire life.
Right.
I want you to learn how to do this because that's
Right.
what it. If you plan your weekend, if you plan your weeks on a Sunday or on the weekend or whenever day you have time, then you don't make those bad decisions when those on-the-spot convenient decisions.
Yeah, convenient, pragmatic.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
That's not convenient, that you'll pay for in the long run, but
Right.
you don't see it that way.
Yes.
And so just getting people in the mind frame of,
Yeah.
I need to plan,
Big
I
Macs
need
are
to
like
prep.
$45 because
Absolutely.
you're paying like $1.50 now, and you're paying $42 next month when you have to go to the doctor for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
And I tell
It's the
everyone,
most expensive
I don't
meal
even,
you can do is like go to fast food.
I don't even buy water from McDonald's. I don't support it. Because I just feel like it's taking, like you said, a Big Mac, I can get it for $2, but a bag of apples I pay $6 for. And the cost distribution is just, it's not, I can feed my family on a box of chicken for $8 versus going to the grocery store and it's going to spend way more. And I don't know how to do that. So I always tell people, I feel like access without education is pointless.
Do you have a blog for this? You really need to be posting these.
I do post. I have a Facebook and an Instagram
Nice.
that I post
Okay.
on a lot. And the whole point of both of those social sites is just to get people thinking about eating differently.
Give them examples.
They see my food every day, and this is my life. I definitely lead by example.
Well, will
we
you
are out
tell
of
us?
time.
But before we go, would you tell us the times and the different farmers markets, and make sure we have that, and any, if you are comfortable putting out your
Absolutely.
Facebook page and
So the Crescent City Farmers Market, uptown, we're there on Tuesdays from 9 until 1 in the parking lot of Tulane University Square, so that's 200 Broadway. On Wednesdays, we're at the French Market. That's our newest market. We're there from 2 until 6 in the historic French Market. And there we have 2 hours of free parking, which is a huge bonus for locals.
Nice.
You can access it from right around Jackson Brewery, go in the back, drive along the river. And if you purchase something at the farmers market, we'll validate it for 2 hours.
Great.
On Thursdays, we're at the American Can Company from 3 until 7.
Awesome.
We're there right by the bayou. And then Saturday is our flagship location. It's our original one. And we're at 700 Magazine on the corner of Girard. We're there from 8 until 12. And that is just, that's where it started. That's where we're celebrating 20 years. We've got kids' activities on the first Saturday of the month and all sorts of things going on on Saturdays throughout the month. So.
And my Facebook is Kimisha, Kimisha, Sawyers, Sawyers, and my Instagram is called It's a Lifestyle.
Excellent.
I like that.
It's a lifestyle.
Well, thank you. Our special guest tonight at Midnight Menu Plus One was Emery Van Hook Sonnier, and her plus one was Kimisha Sawyers. You can find out more about Crescent City Farmers Market and all the other things that we discussed tonight by following the links on our site, itsneworleans.com. And thanks tonight, too, for Petite Pet Care, for loving care when you're not there. Petite Pet Care. Well, that's it for tonight's show. See you next time on Midnight Menu Plus One. Till then, I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margot Moss.
You know Labor Day signals the unofficial end of summer, but not the end of your outdoor projects. Lowe's helps you do it right and helps you save with Labor Day deals throughout the store. Shop now and get 2 bags of Stay Green potty mix for $12. And keep your lawn looking neat and trim with a Craftsman 2-cycle 17-inch gas string trimmer, now $20 off at just $119. Whatever's still on your to-do list this Labor Day, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 8/28. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii, U.S. only.